Hi, my name is Brant Steck. I'm Vice President at BUI, and with me is BUI's Chief Underwriter, Chris Hooper. Chris Hooper is not only BUI's Chief Underwriter, but also the 2015 Doonesbury Farm Potato Sack Champion. We'll talk about that strategy later on in our discussion. But Chris, starting off with your core expertise of underwriting, um, given the COVID-19 environment, can you give us some insight as to what cases you see going relatively smoothly and what cases are stumbling in the current environment?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's probably what you would imagine. The younger and the healthier folks that are looking for smaller term coverage amounts, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, even with permanent coverage amounts, those are the sort of cases that are going through rapidly. I just had a report come out that there were several cases that took a number of days, 4 or 5 days to get an approval, which is just a great thing. Usually underwriting can take weeks to months. On the other side of things, people that have medical conditions, people that are older, especially those with medical conditions that are thought to be a disposition of having more concerns during a COVID-19 infection, are getting more scrutiny, and it's becoming even harder and harder for those folks to get coverage as time goes on.
So safe to say maybe age 70 it starts getting a little dicey in table rated cases.
Yeah, I'd say once you get past age 60, age 70, we have to be a little bit more particular on which carrier that we are identifying that would be the best fit for the client, depending on their profile.
Okay. And last week we announced a partnership with Human API, which we're very excited about because there's potentially an opportunity to majorly streamline the underwriting process and save weeks. Can you give a little bit of an explanation of how that technology works and really what the core benefits are?
Sure. Well, BUI and the industry as a whole is really trying to make the underwriting process faster and streamlining it. And Human API is essentially a software company that bridges the gap between a person's abbreviated medical records and whomever else they want to share it with. It's like a PayPal of your medical records, if you will. And so they are able to organize abbreviated records and get it over to the insurance carrier in a rapid way. We're talking minutes or hours, as opposed to a full set of medical records can often take weeks or months to obtain.
So when I access my Mercy app, for example, on my iPhone, that's similar to the kind of data that is being provided through Human API.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think many folks, their doctors work inside of a system that has availability where people can obtain their medical reports. Usually it's lab results, maybe specific reports of testing. And that's the sort of information that is being filed over. It doesn't typically include chart notes and more details that would be in the full set of medical records. And in many instances, that sort of information is still necessary. But especially right now, the insurance carriers are really trying to do more with less, especially in that cohort of folks that are, viewed as healthy otherwise.
So no huge drawback to doing Human API. They may not, if they're not full records, they may need to go back in certain circumstances and get more, but no major drawback, it sounds like. So on the note that you just made of doing more with less, aside from Human API, how are insurance carriers leveraging technology so that they're still protecting their interest and able to write business?
Well, there's many exciting things. I guess you would think it's exciting if you're an underwriter, things that are happening right now. But as I had mentioned in the last call, that there's a huge focus right now on the underwriting process, and that's a good thing. I think that'll come out of this whole thing. And carriers are really recognizing ways that, okay, nobody wants an exam or lab or urinalysis. Nobody wants to wait 30 days or more to get their insurance coverage. How can we speed up the process, and how can we still make good decisions? And so they're getting protective value in other ways. There's been historical ways that they've obtained it. They have ways to communicate with one another. There's motor vehicle reports and things along those lines. Some newer things that have been developed maybe not just recently, but in the past 5 to 10 years has been scaled out, are prescription database checks. And so the insurance company knows what sort of prescriptions have been prescribed. There's also ICD-9 codes that are available. Those are the codes that are designated to diagnosis, and it's a way that doctors bill for healthcare. So that gives another piece of the puzzle to the underwriter. They combine that with these abbreviated medical records that are just the reports, and maybe they can fill in the gap otherwise to get a better understanding, or at least a good enough understanding to understand the risk and place that risk in the right group.
So the prescription check in combination with the ICD-9 codes is essentially tying the condition with the prescription, knowing that some prescriptions can be used for multiple conditions. Good. Okay. Well, I'm gonna finish where I started. So everybody in the office knows about your accolades in the potato sack racing. You seem to have won through human ingenuity. Can you tell us a little bit about the strategy of how one goes about dominating a potato sack race?
Well, it's kind of like it's like a rodeo. You know how that you have kind of your hand back, so that's like your tail, and you just give it your all.
So instead of just doing a 2-foot jump, you almost kind of
it's more of a gallop. Yeah.
More of a gallop. Okay, well, for anybody that ends up in a potato sack race, you should gallop and not jump, and that's apparently how you win championships. Chris, thank you so much. Anybody that has any underwriting questions related to human API or just in general in any case, please don't hesitate to reach out to Chris or anyone on the BUI marketing team.